Hey guys, and welcome back to the Caiden Brand channel. Today we are getting into a 9-ball game. This was from Wednesday for my league, and we are starting off with the break here, and I do end up losing the break. But one of the things that I did want to mention and talk about briefly was the equipment that I was using. So I'm using my Ravens Q butt with a custom carbon fiber shaft, and the tip is the Caiden Warrior tip. These guys are brand new, and I will be doing a in-depth review on this guy in the future because I think this is my new favorite playing tip and potentially my forever tip. It is a grippier version of the Caiden Fighters, and I was playing really well with this throughout the night, but I was still getting used to it because it was a medium tip, and I usually shoot with a hard, but I really wanted to give the mediums a fair shot, and I was not disappointed, but I am still getting used to it. So with that being said, let's get back to a little bit of the commentary and playthrough of this, because right now I was measuring up to make legal contact with the 7 because she kind of plays us into a safety here. So I was measuring the distance from the ball off the rail, finding the contact point on the rail, and then here we are making contact with it. And I did get very lucky with this because the shot that she's left with is not a full safety, but it leaves her a very low percentage shot. And if she makes it, she makes it, but it gives us another chance to potentially get back on the table. Or if she plays us into another safety, then that would have been another hassle we had to deal with. But here she does try to bank the 7 down into the bottom right pocket, and it just didn't work out for her, unfortunately. The cue ball kind of travels 3 rails, and it gives us a pretty straight in easy shot here for the 7, and I believe I hit this with some center so that we come back off the rail. And I couldn't remember if I was trying to make the ball into the center pocket or if I was trying to go down table, but let's see. So we do take the 8-ball, and so what we ended up doing was taking the 8-ball into the center and using the short rail to help correct the speed so that we could get onto the 9. The 9 was in a pretty good spot, so it truly probably didn't matter. But trying to get yourself as straight on all the shots as possible is what you want to do. And we have a few times where we speed it up to get the video kind of moving along, but here I have my first break of the entire match, and I believe we make 2 balls off of this one. It should be the 3 and the 6. Yeah, so 6 as the wing ball, and then the 3 does go into the center pocket as well. So now we have a nice shot here for the 1. A little bit of a cut, but we can still manage. And then we have the 2 into the center pocket, it looks like. So we should be playing this one with some medium speed. Maybe a little bit harder to get a little bit further off so that we had a better angle to work with. But I should be able to still manage this and take the 2. Now this is a critical speed shot, because if you hit this a little too hard or a little too soft, you can really leave yourself in a very tricky spot to try and get onto the 4, which is frozen to the 5 down table. And I end up having to jack up on this to try and, I believe I was trying to hit this with some draw so that it came back and avoided the 5 as much as possible, but it still clips, and we are not left with a nice shot for the 5. We end up actually missing this next one because it is just too much of a thin cut for myself to execute. So as we go to shoot this, some things to note is if you know you're going to miss a shot like this, maybe playing this a little bit slower, because I could have also frozen the ball to the rail potentially, but she ends up making the last few balls, and we skip here to the 9 where I was able to pocket that, and we get my next break of this match. I do not know the point count at this point. It was kind of all over the place from trying to watch and edit this video. So I do mention at the end how many balls were left, but We get another dry break here, unfortunately, so she was able to take the 1, and now she's kind of left with the difficult shot on the 2. One of the things to point out was she was really good at being able to get out of some of these safeties, and I think I mentioned that later too. But it does look like I was able to take the 2 into the center here, but the 9 was just barely covering the center pocket to be able to make that, so I clip the 9, not thinking that it was going to clip, and it looks like we give her a nice shot for the 2 here, and she does miss. So I tried to take the 2 all the way down the rail, and it just doesn't work out again. We got very fortunate, comes off the center cushion for the pocket, and it puts her into another very, very lucky safety. And she was able to kick herself out of that mess too, and then we are left with kind of a tricky layout, but it's still a doable layout. So what happens next is the 2 should go into the back right. Yeah, the back right pocket, and then if you hit this correctly with the right amount of speed, I hit this a little too hard, and thankfully we were still able to make contact with the 3 after this, because the 6 really could have done us in. But we're going to use the 3 to make a combo carom shot into the 7. And it leaves the 3 still into that back pocket for an insurance shot. Now, the best way to probably hit this would have been with a little bit of top instead of center. And it would have carried the ball a little bit closer to the 4 to make the 4 a little bit more natural, because right here is another critical shot speed. And it drops very slowly, but the speed of the cue ball is what really matters, because getting onto the 5, it was a very lucky layout for the 5 as well. So then now we have a pretty straight in shot here for the 5, almost a stop shot, a little bit of a stun draw, but we get good position here for the 6. And this is probably one of my favorite shots to execute in matches, is when it's close to the rail and you need to come back down table, hit that with some low left, come off the rail, and it gets you it makes it look pretty cool. Now this next shot here onto the 8 is a little tricky, because I am very, very straight, and I'm not sure if you're able to tell through the video, but this was a super, super straight in shot. Either the ball's gonna follow forward and scratch, or it could just get you way out of position. So I hit this with a center punch and trying to really get it off the rail so that wasn't frozen, but it didn't matter because I still whiffed on the 9 here. It was a pretty bad miss. I missed it very thin and just cut the ball way too far to the right. Comes out of the pocket, and it leaves her a shot for the 9, and she does take this into the center pocket. And she gets the break with the 1, and kind of a tricky spot for the 2, but she makes contact with it, and unfortunately it leaves us with a shot on the table. Now this rack I know was a little bit of a mess for myself. It was kind of back and forth of missing shots and trying to get the correct positioning. This 2, very makeable, but I overanalyze and I completely miss my cue ball positioning here. If I were have to played this a little bit faster and completely missed the 4, it might have left us a better shot for the 3 down table, but we end up having to play a kick, and it almost turns into a safety. A little bit of luck there. It's a little bit of a hard cut, so you can see her measuring it up. She misses and gives us another simple shot here for the 3, and the 4 is right where my wrist is, so realistically all we have to do is play this with a little bit of a stun, if not a very small 2-inch 3-inch draw, and we get onto the 4. But the 4 is a little bit of a difficult positioning shot, because if you hit this with a little bit of follow, it does run the risk of scratching. I think I hit this with low left to try and get this to really kind of kick out of there off the rails, but let's see what happens. So it comes off the short rail. So 3 rails. It looks like we hit that with some draw, and then the draw carries it across the rails with the spin that it has. But the 5 here is a low percentage shot for myself, and the 5 did not clear into the middle pocket, so the only realistic idea that I had was to try and kick this, and it did not work out. It completely mishit that in every way, shape, and form. It did leave her with a nice easy shot for the 5, but thankfully she ended up missing for us, and it gives us a chance to make the 5 again. The cue ball was frozen, or pretty close to the 6, so I know I had to kind of jack up over this and make the 5. Now, I didn't have to play this as hard as I did. I could have just played this a little bit softer, and I would have actually been able to potentially run this out. But because I hit this so hard, it got me behind the 9, and now we have to play a kick shot into the 6, and I know I missed. This is a very thin miss too. I was really trying to figure out the angle, and this is something that I'm still working on, is kicking and banking, because I can't see the angles too well. So we missed this narrowly, not close, but not too far. So she runs out the 6 and the 7, and then we play a little bit of hopscotch for the 9. It was a lot of shoot miss, and then finally this last shot. I should be taking this into the bottom left corner. Yeah, playing this with a little bit of top, and it brings it back towards the center of the table. And then with that being said, because the 9 counts for 2 points in APA for 9 ball, that leaves us with only needing 4 more balls to win this game. So we break here, another dry break. We really got to work on those, because this could have been a completely different result. But she misses on the 1. I am up here on the 1 too, and completely miss. That was a miss by a long shot, and should have been able to drop that quite easily. But now we get this back and forth play for the 2, and I was able to hit this really nice safety. I thought that was probably one of the greatest highlights of the match for myself, and recognizing it, because you have to take a step back and go, okay, I'm not going to be able to make this. How do I play this so I can get back on the table? And it did, because she completely missed the 2 on the next shot, and we get ball in hand, and we get to run the rest of the table until we win, because it's only 4 balls. So we make the 2, the 3. The 3 I played a little bit too fast, but we still end up pretty straight here for the 4, and you'll see that I'm jacking up here again, trying to make sure that I can hit this center ball and try and get this to stop. And I think I hit that with a little bit of low, and it still works out, because this is the last ball we need. The 5 drops right there into the back pocket, but I thought we were still shooting, and I think I needed the 6, so I was lining up to make the 6. My buddy from my team comes over and lets me know that we are finished. But thank you for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you got any recommendations on videos you want to see in the future, let me know. But we'll catch you on the next one. All right, so here at the end, this is not a sponsored portion or a kickback of any sort. This is just me showing you guys where I order my Q-tips from. If you are in the market for them, atlassupplies.com, they have all sorts of playing tips and some of the newest, hottest stuff out there. Not only that, but they also have some of the harder tips to find, and you're going to just have to go to the website to find out for yourself all the great playing tips that they offer, along with brake tips, ferrules, and anything that you could think of to build your own cue from home, this is the one website to go to. Now, if you do end up going through the site and placing your first order, I'm not going to get anything for this, but let them know Caiden Billiards sent you, because I truly support their business and I hope that you enjoy everything that they provide you as well.